All right. Well, we started with that first question. Almost 400 law enforcement officers on the scene. No attempt to breach the classrooms. Not the typical response to an active shooter situation, correct?
Absolutely not. I mean, for the last almost 20 years, law enforcement has been taught to run towards gunfire, not away from gunfire like we saw in this case. At the beginning, at the onset of this, I tried to give the commander on the scene the benefit of the doubt and say, well, maybe he was undergunned or undermanned, or try to give him some excuse, because it just seems so outrageous that even at the beginning, it was said that there were dozens of police officers there, and yet nothing was being done. And yet now we found out that they did have the equipment, they had the superior protection with the barriers, they did have semi-automatic AR-15s, they had more than enough manpower to go in there. They knew kids were there. That commanding officer clearly was wrong. The police officers should have gone in there anyway. Part of the problem could have been mass confusion. There are several agencies working.
And Manny, let's talk about that. Is this a situation where more was too much? Because based on what the report said, there were 19 state and local agencies responding to this school. Were they able to figure out who was in charge, who should have been making the decisions in a situation like this? And was it children and teachers who paid for this with their lives?
Excellent question. We here in New York City, we have the privilege to have NYPD, the biggest, most resourceful and highly trained police department in the planet, I would argue. That being said, they show up, they have their protocols in certain terms of their chain of command. Over there, what happens in these smaller counties are that all kinds of law enforcement and different departments show up. Apparently their protocol was that since this was a school ground, that the chief of the school protection agency was the commander on the scene. Clearly he did an abject failure of what should have been the procedure, which is to run towards those gunshots. They knew where this bad person was. They heard the shots. They knew exactly what was going on, that there were little kids in there, and they did absolutely nothing. It's sad. It's embarrassing to everybody in law enforcement. And obviously, the investigation is going to continue, and they will change the protocol. But now it's too late for those teachers and those children that, partially due to what these law enforcement officials failed to do, which is to run towards that gunfire. And yes, they may have gotten hurt, and yes, maybe they may have gotten killed. But when you put on that badge and give that oath, that's what you're signing up for eventually. That's the job. That's part of the job. That someday you may get hurt and perhaps even killed. Hundreds, if not thousands, do every year. And so they should have gone in there, especially hearing the spot shots, especially having the equipment and supposedly the training that they had received, and having the resources to take this person out, which eventually that happened, but yet too late.
All right, Manny, very quickly, where do we go from here now that we have this report in hand?
Well, now all law enforcement in the entire country this is going to be a case study as to what not to do, and reinforce what to do, and to especially understand in a case like this, where you have multiple law enforcement agencies, who is in charge and who will be given the direct orders. That being said, there were so many departments there. If you hear the conversations that were recorded on body cams between certain law enforcement officers, they were ready to go in there on their own and forget about what the quote-unquote site commander
just truly heartbreaking details being released in all of this. And a lot of people want accountability, especially from the top down with those that are on administrative leave at the moment. But Manny Gomez, formerly with the NYPD, the FBI, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Such a painful way to learn a lesson.